Welcome back to Farming Simulator. Today we're going to have a look at the Armour Salmon HD 120 CLS Sugarbeet cleanup by 4D Modding. Let's roll the intro. So this was released on 4D Modding's Facebook page over the weekend and is available through their Air Agri site. Now I'll put a link for it down below. And this is the Armour Salmon HD 120 CLS Sugarbeet cleaner. And what that does is increase the value of your sugar beets by 20%. The way it does that is by giving you 20% more sugar beet. So if you feed sugar beet in, then you get 20% more out the other end. That has some interesting possibilities, which we'll talk about in a bit. So let's just have a quick look at it in the store. So it is under tools and belts. It's £10,500 plus whatever options you choose to pick. You can have some different coloured, some different guards on there. You can have a table for picking off for sorting. You can have an engine cover or not. And there's a bunch of colour options. And some of those cost money, so it'll cost you a little bit more. This thing is definitely worth it. And the hopper holds 5,400 litres of sugar beets. It only does sugar beets at the moment, but 4D has commented that he's going to update it so it does potatoes as well, because someone asked on one of the comments. So I have a few of these set up, so let's have a look. So you can see, to move it around the farm, you hook it up to a tractor and then just tow it around, kind of like normal. Yeah. Hook it up, just connect it. Just like that. I'm not sure why it doesn't seem to want to drive around. I'm not sure if that's this tractor or having the mod attached. We'll just put it down again and yeah. It's because it started the engine. The cleaner has an engine, that's why it wouldn't move. There we go. Sorry, noob alert, noob mistake. So yeah, you can then just tow it around to where you need it on your farm or anywhere else you might want it, which we'll come on to in a bit. There we go. So yeah, as we have just discovered, it has an engine. So this is enterable. You need to go into it to start it up so that it works, and it has some really cool camera angles. So you've got this view, which is kind of first person view. You've got an external view. Yeah, that's really cool. And let's just run back over to the other one, because this one is set up ready to go. We disconnect it, which does take a moment. This thing has some quite detailed animations on it, so okay. Right, so if we then run around and get into this one, okay, and then you want to do, so if you can use X to, so we need to start it, use X to unfold it, and on the other one that lowers the ladder for the sorting panel. We don't have that on here, so you can't really see that. And then it's O to unfold the auger. As you can see, it is over there, and you need to unfold that so that you can then empty crops out of it. Right, let's jump over to this guy, which is set up to work. So we've got the dually trailer on the back of the John Deere 6R, which is empty, to empty into. We need to start this guy up, and then that should be good to go. To tip into it, you either need to use a belt or a bucket. So I have a belt set up here. Hopefully it's not quite set up right. So let's just move that a little bit. I think John Deere, the JCB is in the way, I think. So I'll show you both. I'll show you with the belt system and with the bucket. There we go. That'll do. So I have 12,100 litres of sugar beets in here. If I can manage to find the trigger, it seems to be a bit, the belt seems to be a little bit fussy. You can get that tipping onto the belt. You can see it's going into the sorter or the cleaner. You can see the dirt is falling off of the sugar beets, and then they're going into the trailer, and it has some really nice animations. I think that looks really cool. And yeah, so it just processes you the sugar beets, and we end up with 20% extra. So we should end up with about 14,500 litres of sugar beets in the dually behind the John Deere. But we'll just let this process through and we'll see what we end up with. So it's going to be used for potatoes as well. So 4D Modding have said they're going to add potatoes on as well. What I'm thinking with this is, one, you could stick this at the sell point and just tip straight into it. If you're doing contract, you could stick it at the contract sell point, tip straight into it, and you would end up delivering a lot more, so you'd get a bigger excess, and then when you sell your excess you'd get more for it. You could stick it on a production, on a sugar production, and you'd get 20% more going in for your sugar. Slightly cheaty, but it's an option. Certainly for contracts, I think it would make sugar beet and potato harvesting contracts, when 4D adds potatoes to it, much more profitable, much more worth the huge amount of time that they do take to get done. And if, like me, you've got some big sugar beet harvests coming up, then you could use this to get even more sugar out of your sugar beet harvest. Oh, it's so nice. It's such a nice model. It's so well done. It's really cool. So we're just going to let this run through. I'm just going to move the JCB and the conveyor belt out of the way so that we can just have a quick demo with the bucket. And if you don't have a trailer there, it will tip onto the floor as well. And it will tip into sell points, as I have mentioned, and I will show you in a moment. So we should be almost done here, I think. Yep, just finishing out the last little bit. It's so well modelled. One of the nice things about 4D stuff, I think, is they do a really nice job of modelling things. There we go. So if we jump in here, 14,500 litres of sugar beets. So you get 20% more. Let's just pull this guy out of the way. If you wanted to get really creative, you could line them up, I guess. Couldn't you? You could have that one emptying into that one. That's maybe a little bit too cheaty. That's a bit like with the silage additive, where if you go over it if you run over some grass with silage additive in a loading wagon and then tip it out, and you can keep repeating the process. You could do that with this. You could in fact maybe make an endless triangle of infinite sugar beet production. But yeah, you can see you can tip in from the bucket, and if we jump in here, I think it's Control I, and it should start tipping them on to the floor. There we go. So you can tip onto the floor as well as straight into a trailer. So that's the basics of using the Armour Salmon HD 120 CLS. Now we get a bit more creative. So well, maybe not. This is into the less cheaty realms of things. So I have one of these at the sell point. We fire it up. We've then got an auger wagon full of sugar beets. And you can, if I position my auger wagon correctly, just go straight from the auger wagon into the cleaner, into the sell point. And so our 20% extra sugar beets will be automatically selling and getting us that 20% more. So that is the Armour Salmon HD 120 CLS by 4D Modding. That's a really nice bit of kit. I really like it. That's the normal bit of this video done. If you hang on for a minute, I am going to set up and try and do infinite sugar beets. Bear with me. So I am back, and that idea does not work. The game gets very unhappy when you try and do infinite sugar beet. And the log is full of errors when you try and do that. So yeah, don't do infinite sugar beet. Don't do that at all, actually. That's very cheaty. Very cheaty to try and do something like that. Awesome mod by 4D Modding, aside from my little bit of stupidity there. Definitely check this out if you're doing sugar beet. And if you haven't already, click the like button. If you've got comments, stick them below. And if you're new to the channel, click subscribe and turn on notifications. And I'll catch you next time on FS22.